So we're in Biology, Chapter 18, Section 2, Snakes, the most widespread of reptiles. Snakes. Well, snakes are these legless creatures with dry scales. They are vertebrates. A lot of them live in the tropics, and some can live up to 20 years. None live in the very high elevations, and there's none in Ireland and there's none in New Zealand. They always say that St. Patrick must have drove the snakes out of Ireland. But anyway, that's a wise tale. But there's none in Ireland. So the snakes also burrow and they hibernate, and their size varies. They have the blind snake that's only like 5 to 6 inches long and only a 1/4 ounce tiny snake. And then we have the 33-foot long python in Asia that's 33 feet and weighs 330 pounds. That's a big snake. Also, the large snakes is we have anacondas in South America that are almost as big as the pythons, and then the water boas also in South America. In the United States and North America, our biggest snake is the indigo snake, which can be up to 9 feet long. So you can see how they vary in size. So let's talk about their locomotion here. And your book goes over the locomotion. How do they move? Let's zoom in here a bit. There we go. So this is there's 4 different methods of locomotion listed in your book, and how a snake can move. So we have the lateral undulation. Undulation actually means how it's movement. They call it undulation. They undulate, they slither. So here's the lateral undulation. Snake slithers forward along the same path. So it easily, as it slithers forward, each part of it goes through the same path. It takes the same path. It bends easily sideways, which makes them excellent swimmers too. But most are on flat ground here as they move forward. And you can see how they can also push on rocks as they go by. So that's the locomotion called lateral. They're moving back and forth means lateral. So now we have another type of locomotion here. See at the bottom here how they move in a straight line. It's called rectilinear motion. Rectilinear movement, snake alternates, stretches and shortens its body up and down in the same line. So this, usually thick-bodied snakes do this. They can stalk their prey this way. They creep in this straight line, and in this way, that creeping moment, that actually as they creep, they can also climb in the midst of this whole thing. But you see, so there's 2 different kinds of locomotion here that we're talking about. Now let's go to the next type of locomotion. There's 4 of them. Here we go. So this is the concertina. The concertina movement is this, as you can see, it's like a slinky. See how that snake's moving as a slinky? On a smooth surface, it climbs the tree, it coils and it uncoils. Coils up and then it coils up. It's going up. You're going up, usually going up a tree here, so, which is a little different between the rectilinear and the lateral because it's moving. It coils back and pulls back as it's going up. And so on to the movement that's the fastest, that brings the fastest of movement, is the sidewinders. So when you think of sidewinders, what do you think of? Of course, I hope you think of the desert, because that's where most of them are. The desert in North America, onto the other deserts too, we have all these sidewinders like carpet vipers and horned vipers, and that can move quickly. So basically they lift themselves off the ground, which makes them move faster. And they have only 2 or 3 points in contact with the ground, and otherwise they're in the air. And the top speed usually is about 4 miles per hour, although the fastest is the black Momoa snake that's 14 foot long, and it travels from 7 to 20 miles per hour. Of course, these snakes could surely outrun you, couldn't they? And some of them are vipers. So some of them are, probably most of them there are poisonous. So that's it for the locomotion. So let's talk about their sense organs. Let's go on. I'm going to go on to the next page here. This is their sense of smell, but let's go down to their eyesight and such first. Here we go. Here's a snake. So as you look here, the snake, you can even see its vertebrae there. It's a vertebrate. You can see how there's stomach's there and going in the opening of its windpipe, and its fangs, where its colon and its kidney, and this is a great picture. So anyway, talking about its sense organs. First of all, the scaly skin as we took was the epidermis on the outside, and we talked about that. And it has a thin, let's go up here and look at this here. There we go. So it has this is a scale. See, it scales, it's thin epidermis, and then it has this thin elastic skin underneath it, so it can molt. It usually starts molting at the nose area on down. So it has these two layers of skin, with the scaly skins and then the thin skin that makes them able to expand. And when they molt, they actually start developing new scales. So let's go back down to our snake skeleton here. So sense organs, we're going to talk a little bit about their eyes. And you see their eye right there? See how that one looks like a slit? You know, poisonous snakes have a slit, but really, when you think of the sense organ of the eye, diurnal, that means in the day. If they live in the daytime, they usually have big round pupils. But if they live at night and they come at night, they have slits in their pupils so they can see better. So you can see the difference. So a nocturnal snake would have like slit eyes. They have a scale covers their eyes, you know, like a little light scale. It's not really an eyelid. They don't really have an eyelid, but this scale covers it because they don't really blink their eye, but that scale will come off when they molt. So the eye, again, has wide vision. They're rather nearsighted, I should say, nearsighted. So they can't see far, but they can see nearsighted. There are no eyelids, as I said before, and you know, they shed that one eyelid so you can see. And onto their ear, do you see them have an ear? No. They have no outside ear and no tympanic membrane. They cannot hear high-pitched sounds, but they have an inner ear inside there that only can hear low frequencies, usually, you know, like 100 to 700 hertz, you know, so their ear just barely hears low things. And their lower jaw, it's very important for their lower jaw here. See the opening, this is the lower jaw. You can see how their mouths can open really big. So it's not attached to their skull. They have a quadrate bone there, so it loosely attracts there, so it can open. And also their jaw can feel sound waves that can be felt by their jaw, like if the earth vibrates or something's vibrating, like an animal vibrating the earth, they can feel that with their jaw there, their lower jaw. Going on up here to the sense of smell. So they don't have any nostrils really, although it looks like they have one there, but we'll talk. It's just basically they don't smell through their nostrils. They have some olfactory smell, you know, inside there, but not much. But they really pick up scents and everything through this organ here that's located. It's called the Jacobson's organ. I don't know why they call it Jacobson organ, but there's a nerve in there and where their tongue is. So these two little cavities at the rear of their mouth are sensitive to odor, so they can smell there. So and so you can see that's very important. So this is really important for their smell, this Jacobson organ, as you see in this picture here. Scent particles analyzed by Jacobson organ. So not really, and see their tongue there, the tongue picks up scent particles there. So the tongue brings in scent too, so they really don't smell with their noses. Let's go back to our snake skeleton. And on to their feeding. Okay, so they usually, as you can see, their mouth there, it opens really wide. They can swallow whole. They have these double hinged jaws there. They eat insects. They can eat birds. They can eat amphibians. They can eat fish. They can eat reptiles. They can eat small mammals and rabbits and even rats. So it looks like they have a small mouth, but they can make that humongous. So they engulf their meal. And their teeth there, you see that they have a few teeth there. Their teeth are not used, you know, for chewing necessarily. They're used for just keeping the prey from escaping their mouth. So their trachea will push forward over their tongue and out their mouth, and their stomach will expand, going from here, going through their mouth down here. You'll see how the esophagus is long esophagus. And they go here. Here's the liver. Here's their lung. But here, as they go, it goes through their digestive, this being the digestive tract here, esophagus onto their stomach up here, and their from their stomach to their intestines, and you'll see down here's their colon and their kidney. So it's all in this long snaky body, you know. So basically, let's show you the next picture here, and we'll come back here. All right, this one here. That's how big its mouth can get. That's a snake swallowing an egg. So see how it's the egg. So basically it swallows the egg, and then they have in the back this little sharp spine in the back of their throat that will pluck the egg. And so the egg will crack, and then it will regurgitate or spit out the shells later on. So see how big, that's a snake, how big its mouth can get when I was talking about its mouth. So, well, a lot of times a snake doesn't eat, when they eat big animals, they don't have to eat a while. So sometimes they only eat like twice a month if they eat big animals. So, of course, this one's an egg eater. So, and then their stomach, the bones are digested. Let's go back to that picture of the stomach. So you see where their stomach is? Anyway, they digest, they expand, the enzymes digest their bones, and then except for hair and feathers, and even the bones are digested in a few days, and then they regurgitate what they don't want in their stomach. They throw it up. So here's their stomach, the ribs, onto their colon. You see where it goes to the digestive. All their systems are kind of right next to each other. You see how the lungs there throughout here, and here's their heart, just a small heart there, you know, compared to the chambers of a heart of a reptile, of the other reptiles. So let's see. Okay, we're going to go over the snake groups now. I think I went over, you can see, here's its reproductive organs here too, testes. So wouldn't you like to dissect one? Not me, but you know. So, okay, we're going to go through the types here. Yeah, snakes. Okay, we're going to start. What does a person, what do you call a person that studies snakes? Or her herpetologist. Herpetologist studies snakes. That's a new name, herpetologist. Let's see, they put it here. Here we go. Here's the name, herpetologist, right there. Herpetologists are zoologists who study reptiles and amphibians and snakes. And they identified several hundred species of blind snakes. So the first group they're going to talk about is the blind snakes. And blind snakes, let's see if we have any pictures of blind snakes. These are the voids. So let's start with the... no pictures really of blind snakes, but anyway, let's go on. We'll look at boas in a little bit. But blind snakes will look like worms. They look like earthworms, and they're tiny and they're harmless, and they're only 6 to 7 inches long. And they're a lot of times they live underground, so they're confused with these earthworms, which they're not. They burrow with their head, and they live in the rocks and logs, and they have a sharp spiked tail to push them along. So these are the blind snakes. And there's a lot of different kinds of blind snakes here. It says, There's many, let's see, I don't see how many, but there's lots of them, a lot of different kinds of blind snakes. So let's go down to the constrictors. So what are the constrictors? The constrictors are like this picture of an anaconda, boas and constrictors. They're non-venomous snakes. The boa or the boid family right here. This is a picture of the boid family, the boa constrictors. Can you see them? How they eat their prey and get their prey is they basically constrict. That's why they're called constrictors. They tighten and they prevent their prey from inhaling, so they suffocate their prey. So we have pythons, anacondas, boas. They're oviparous. That means they're egg laying, except for the some of the boas who are ovoviviparous, which means they have their babies, snakes, alive, when they're born. So these are the boids. So let's go up here. These are colubrids. Here's the colubrid snakes. Colubrid snakes are 2/3 of all snakes are colubrids. The colubrids are slender. They can be slender or thick. They're terrestrial, aquatic, or arboreal. That means they can live on land, they can live in water, or they can live in the forest in trees. Arboreal means living in the trees. So here's some snakes here there's also some familiar snakes. We have the garter snake down here. Garter snake, the water snakes, the hognose snake, the ring snake. Is there a picture of a ring snake? These kind of snakes. And most of them are pretty harmless. Racers, rat, bull snakes, they eat rodents. So bull snakes, if you have a bull snake, they imitate a rattlesnake, and they even have a tail that they try to brush in the leaves to rattle their tail as a defense. But they're pretty harmless to man, but they eat a lot of mice. They eat a lot of mice and rodents and rats and such. So if you have a bull snake, is a good one to have, and rat snakes too. Because the ones that eat rodents are very good to have around if you have a lot of infestation of rats and rodents. They're kind of like having a cat around. So like most of these are harmless, but they do have a couple that are poisonous, that have fangs. The venom injected in their teeth injects this poison. The African boomslang snake is fatal. So there are some colubrids that are poisonous. They have their 3 groves fangs in the rear of their upper jaw, and they chew on their prey. So usually they're not dangerous because basically their fangs and their poison are in their mouth, such. So let's go on to the next. You see the corn snake and the scarlet king snake and the garter snake, the Russian rat snake. So we're going to go on to the elapids. The elapids, let's see, let me go on, are going to be the poisonous snakes with cobras and such, vipers. Let's go on to the elapids. Okay. Here we go. Let's back up here. These are the elapids. So you want to know these in case you come upon one, because they are poisonous and most of them are fatal to even mankind, So elapids, immovable fangs in the front of their upper jaw. Their fangs, they have fangs and venom glands, and all of them are poisonous. 1/2 of these are in Australia. Some of them are not fatal to man in Australia because their fangs are too small to really give you much poison, but they are poisonous. So can you imagine 1/2 of these poison snakes are in Australia? Lots of poison things in Australia. So cobras. So let's look here. So there's king cobra right there. Very familiar cobra. Cobras are usually in Africa and Asia. They flatten their necks in the horizontal movement, as they look pretty flat when they want to strike there. The king cobra can be up to 18 feet. It's the largest poisonous snake. The India cobra in India has a spectacular hood, even bigger than this big, huge hood that they have on the Indian cobra. And it kills many people. It's, a very, very venomous and or poisonous. We have the spitting cobra. Is a cobra that spits poison into people's eyes or into whatever their prey's eyes, and they blind them and may even blind you permanently so they can spit poison in your eyes, Then we have these mambas. These are really poisonous too. They're in Africa. They're very aggressive, and they're highly potent venom, and they kill the less aggressive kind were called crepes. They're a little less aggressive, but the mambas are very poisonous. And then we have down here the coral snake, another poisonous snake in North and South America. It's nocturnal. It comes out at night, and it doesn't strike. It slides its head over its prey, and usually it's kind of this black and yellow and red color. Now there's another kind of snake that looks just almost like the scarlet king snake, and it's non-venomous, but it resembles the coral snake, so people are afraid of it. And it's black, red, and yellow. So here's how you know this. There's a little thing that says, red on yellow, kill a fellow. Red on black, venom lack. So the red on the black when it's next to the black means that basically the black, red, and yellow that's a king snake that's not poisonous. But I wouldn't take my chances on either one of those things. So then we have, of course, we have sea snakes, the sea snakes. Let's go up here as a sea snake. Look at that one there. The sea snakes, there's 50 species of sea snakes. They're all venomous. They usually live in the tropical areas of the Indian and Pacific Ocean. There's no sea snakes in the Atlantic Ocean. I didn't know that. So if you're in the Atlantic Ocean, you will not find a sea snake. They have a flat body, and their tails are narrow, and they're oar-like paddle. And they're mostly ovoviviparous, means give birth to live in the water. The snakes do. So sea snakes. Now these are all elapads. Remember, they're all these poisonous type snakes. Let's go back down to our other, we did the elapad. These are the elapads right there, and now we're going to go into these are the vipers, or the viperids. The viperids are pit vipers, and they have these long movable fangs in their front jaw, triangular heads. Whenever a snake has a triangular head, you know it's poisonous. Some of these are the cottonmouth. Here's a cottonmouth, water moccasin cottonmouth, bushmaster. That's that picture in there. Fer-de-lance, copperheads, and rattlesnakes. Copperheads and rattlesnakes, all poisonous vipers. So they fold their hollow fangs into a sheath on the roof of their mouth. So they have their fangs folded in. Pit vipers, they have this sensory depression pit on their head between their nostril and their eye. And this is sensitive to heat. And they also can see in absolute darkness because their sensitivity at this point. And usually these kind of snakes are pretty timid snakes, but when they do strike you, they're very dangerous. They shake their rattles, especially the rattlesnake. We talk about the rattlesnake. Here's a picture of the rattle here, and the rattlesnake. And they basically shake their rattles, and can even bite when they're dead. So I don't know why they shake their rattle, but you know they're shaking their rattle. That's probably a poisonous, it is a rattlesnake. That's why I call them rattlesnakes. So let's go up to here. I wanted to show you the pit viper. And also go over the snake bite a little bit here. Oops. Where am I at? I think it's in the next one. Right here, here we go. So here's the pit organ of the pit vipers. So as you can see there, it has the location of the pit organ here, and that's why they call it pit. It has the pit on the sides where the sensory depression is, and between the nostril and the eye, and it's sensitive to heat. And here's the membrane containing the heat-sensitive nerve endings of the pit viper there. And that's how they can actually get around. See, you always know a viper, and they have these slit eyes and the triangle heads. That's a poisonous snake. So let's talk about snake bites really quick, and then we're going to be done with snakes. Let's go on here, see if we, snake bite treatment. See if we have another picture. I can't remember. Nope. Okay, let's just talk about snake bites then. Okay, snake bites. Snake venom. There are 2,700 species of these kind, and only 300 species of the snakes are venomous. So there's not a lot of them are venomous, but the ones that are, you have to be careful. They have two different types of toxins here. You can see in your book it says neurotoxin. A neurotoxin is a nerve poison, meaning neural, and it acts on the nervous system. It's very painful and it acts right away. It can kill faster, like with the neurotoxins are cobras and coral snakes. Let's look at those snakes there real quick. Here's the cobras there. They have neurotoxins, and they poison right into your blood, and they can paralyze. They can stop their prey when they strike their prey. They can cause them to be paralyzed, and the breath, they're breathing and they can't swallow because they're paralyzed. So what happens with the neurotoxin, your pulse increases and you get nauseated and stuff. They can kill faster. And then you have these snakes here, and they are the vipers and the pit vipers. They poison your blood, blood poisoning. The other one was a nerve poisoning, but these are hemotoxins now. Hemo means blood. And they damage the blood vessels, and they can destroy red blood cells, in fact. And they're painless at first, but then you start getting sick and sleepy and almost paralyzed from the hemotoxins. They're just a slow acting type, but you better get to the hospital right away and get an anatoxin. So anatoxins and antivenoms, they have antibodies in there to neutralize the effects of the snake. If you have a snake bite, you should call the doctor, find out what kind of snake, if it's poisonous or not, of course. Wash. If the snake is dead, kill the snake, but a dead snake can still strike. So to be careful, for like 60 minutes, it still can bite you. So be careful of a dead snake. But anyway, what do you do with the snake bite? You wash it and, scrub it with some water, with soap and water, and not really scrub. If it's a non-venomous, you can. And get a tetanus booster and put a sterile dressing on it. And as for poisonous snakes, be careful. It might be amputation. They may have to cut off your arm or leg if the snake, that might happen. You always to remain quiet and motionless. Never run about. Just quietly immobilize your limb and lower than the heart, so that snake venom is not going to get into the rest of your body. So there's 7,500 people get snake bites, but only 12 have been fatal in the United States since we have the venoms, anti-venoms now. And like we said, if you have a dead snake, you can take it to the hospital, but just be sure that you don't get bit by a dead snake, because you can have, and also another thing I need to say is that the snakes, even baby snakes, especially rattlesnakes, baby snakes can be even more venomous, or just as much venomous as the big snakes. So these little snakes can have a lot of venom in them too. So it's important not to get stung by a baby rattlesnake. So that's the end there, and that's the end of snakes. Our chapter on snakes, I should say. Quite the pictures, huh?